It's showing that we're live. Meeting's being live streamed. Got it. And I'm also going to record on this. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Belinda. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And good morning, everyone in the Compassionate Women's Health community. My name's Belinda Chapman. I'm the host of the Compassionate Women's Health community. And once a month, I interview a practitioner about their expertise in women's health. So this morning, I have Michelle Brain, who is a midwife and hypnotherapist. And her passion in life is midwifery and childbirth. She is a mother of 13 children, all of whom she birthed naturally. She also helped birth 7 of her 7 grandchildren, all naturally with no intervention. She is teaching women that in the absence of fear and tension, pain does not have to be the focus during birth. Her goal in life is to help change the mindset around birth and breastfeeding. Birth is a natural process. Let's trust our bodies and keep them that way. So I'm so excited to be talking to you this morning, Michelle. We met through our own clinical hypnotherapy supervision. And I've been so inspired by the journey that Michelle's gone down, where she's really brought these two worlds together so beautifully. So can you tell us a little bit about your modalities, the main elements of them, and what that means for the women, for women's health?
So I've been a midwife for 20 years and a registered nurse for 30 years. And what I've found is that when women come into birth, they're in this focused state, and which means they're really suggestible. So they come in with all the good intentions of doing what they're going to do. And when they get there, it all goes out the window because they're a bit lost and they're looking for guidance, you know. And this is even women that have done hypnobirthing and all those sort of things. Yeah. And I was able to, you know, easily, and like I say, within 30 seconds, just ask them to breathe and work with me. And they go into this wonderful trance, which is something we do naturally. It's what we would do naturally to give birth. However, we're now in, everything's so medicalized that they're not allowed, or they're steered a different direction. So, you know, when they come in and they're going, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Oh, look, you know, the doctors, you're not going to cope with this. You need pain relief. Instead of me saying, it's okay, just take a deep breath and this is going to be okay. And so then they get a little bit lost. So I've just been able to put together what I do in the birth suite, you know, which really allows women to birth naturally without that fear. You know, once I'm in the room, it's all okay. Mm. And you see them laugh and smile, and I just show them how to shift that focus, you know, whether it's be look out the window and count the red roofs. So it's just showing women how they can shift their focus from fear or from pain to just embrace and you know, focus on their baby, or focus on what a beautiful day it is, you know, something else. So basically that's all it's about. It's about just teaching people how to shift their focus from one thing to another.
Because anyone who has experienced natural birth appreciates how intense the contractions are. So I'm really interested, and I think it might be a question for later, because I want to let's unpack this modality a little bit more, because there might be some people who, as you say, have done the hypnobirthing course or calm birth, or have experienced hypnotherapy before. Like, tell us a little bit more about, you know, just the. It sounds so simple to shift the focus. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that actually means, and how a woman in labour what that means for her?
Yeah. Okay. So I've worked with hypnobirthing. So, you know, I did with Catherine Graves in the UK, who I recommend for hypnobirthing. So I've worked with women who have done hypnobirthing. But what I was finding was on the birth suite, these women that have completed hypnobirthing would come in and they understood the process of birth. They understood the hormones. They understood all these, and they had a plan. But they didn't go into trance. They were so focused on all this other stuff and, you know, reading these scripts. So they would, you know, read these scripts, or their husband, but they just didn't go into trance because they were focusing on other stuff, or they were in this trance of, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, instead of that trance of relaxation, of just letting it go. So what I think makes the difference is not having that trance to take with you to the birth suite, not having that recording, not having your husband sit there and read and the flower will open. What I think it works is having that in your mind, in your brain, so that your unconscious automatically steps up and says, okay, just breathe and allow yourself to float. And when you start to push, it's in your brain. Your unconscious just goes, okay, that's the next bit. We're doing this now. It's automatic. It's innate. It's listening to what women have listened to forever. Before we had all the intervention that we've got now, it's just going back and trusting your body. Yeah. So all I'm doing is just putting some anchors in there so that you go, oh, that's right. Oh, this is good. Instead of, okay, I need to do this now.
Yeah. I think that's you hit on a really, really good point, because I've shared with you before, I did hypnobirthing. I sort of bring it back to the fact that, 3.5 years of IVF did break that trust with my body. And so I didn't know this at the time, but on reflection, I know I needed more to help bring that trust back for my body so that I could step into that, allowing my body to just do what it needed to do. Because it hadn't for 3.5 years, it hadn't fallen pregnant like it was supposed to do. So I hear what you're saying. And yeah, the hypnobirthing course, or any of these courses, I don't want to, just pin it on hypnobirthing, but I think any of these other courses, they teach you some stuff, but I think there's this fundamental message of that anchor. And let's explain the anchor. Do you want to, I'll hand it over for you. Do you want to explain what an anchor is?
So I'll give an example that I think examples work better for me. So in the birth suite, somebody comes in, they've had no education whatsoever, no antenatal classes, nothing. They come in, often they don't know what's going on. They might not even really be in labour. So what I do is I'll put my hand on their shoulder. And my first words are, it's okay. And that's where I stop. We talk, my hand on their shoulder. It's okay. Now just breathe with me. And so I'll get them to look in my eyes and we just breathe together through a contraction. My hand on their shoulder. So what I'm doing is I'm setting an anchor so that when my hand touches their shoulder, it's okay. So I do that. And then women do it differently. Some people like to go into trance in between their contractions or their surges. Others like to do it I've done both. So I read that from the woman. I take that from her, whatever that she is doing where she feels comfortable. And then the partner, I'll wink. There's nothing said out loud so that mum knows what's going on. I'll wink and I'll say, and I'll show him or her. And then what happens is I step back. And without them even realising, their partner's doing it. Because it's not my birth. The less I can have, the more I can step back, the better. It's their birth. And I want it to remain their birth. And whatever I can step back, I can. So I set the anchor and then I pass it on.
Yeah. So we might come into the birth institute with a negative anchor that, all the Hollywood movies that we've seen, that birth is painful. So, we start to feel that contraction and we see that visual of, someone lying flat on their back, screaming their head off, panicked, in pain. And so there's this kind of visual anchor that we come in with, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So this is creating a positive anchor. That touch in the shoulder means it's okay and I'm relaxed.
Yeah. And to breathe, or whichever way. Obviously, I do it a little bit different with everybody, but that's the main, that's how it works. And my children have all been in and watched me birth. So out of 13 children, I think the most I had in the room at once was 9. So my children know that birth isn't flat on your back screaming, mine know that it's just a beautiful experience. And I love to hear my sons speak about birth. Like, I absolutely love the way they talk about it, because to them, when they hear all these stories, they go, huh? So, I've set that already for them. And the more that we can do that for our children, the better. And that's what I'm hoping, that, I've created a course so that people can do this in their own time, and they can share this with, it can be a grandmother that does it, so that she can go in and be the one that shows this anchor, so it can be anyone. So
if you had a lady who's come in at 39 weeks, she's panicked because she's like, I haven't done the preparation, I haven't done the course, what would you say to her?
Great. Great. Let's just do it. So it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what education they have. The thing is, some women come in and just do it. They come in, they have their eyes closed. I step back. If they want me, I'm there. If they don't want me, I try not to even let them know that I'm doing their obs. The less, the more I can step back, the better. Sometimes I only need to step up that little bit when they're just, when the head's crowning and they're going, what is going on? And I'll go, no, it's okay with me. And we do this together. They've got to focus. I'm their focus. Instead of focusing on here going, oh my God, they're focusing on me. And I'll show their partner again. Sometimes you only have that, that short time. But if I can show their partner, okay, watch me. This is how it's focus. We know that the hypnosis or trance is about focused. Yeah. So it's your focused attention. So you can be in a negative trance or a fearful, painful trance by focusing on that. Or you can step aside and focus on something else. Yeah. And that can be simply your partner. It can be twiddling your toes. Like I say, I often get women to look out the window and count the red roofs. Yeah. And what for? Because you can. I'm just shifting their focus.
Yeah. So what if they don't have you in the birthing suite? What can they access from what you've been talking about in terms of this program? Like what is it doing for them that sets them up for success in the home birth, birthing suite?
Okay, so
on the way to the hospital, whatever, wherever the birth ends up being.
So obviously I would always love someone to do hypnobirthing, because it's the process of birth, it's the hormones, it's the real deal. However, from my experience, I've just found that little bit that's missing is that trance. So what I've done is put together I've put information about the birth process and that in it, but I'm teaching people about that trance. Now they're 13 videos and 13 trances that are about 15 minutes, some of them 20 minutes. And all you're doing is, this is basically giving examples so we can say this is how it works and this is what you expect. And then a trance to listen to so that they can go to bed, put the trance in. Now, their partner doesn't have to listen to all of them. He doesn't have to sit there, or she doesn't have to sit there and go through the whole lot. They can if they want. And in fact, I've asked my husband to listen to the crowning trance. And he said it was like he went straight into trance and he came out, and I can't remember the story, but it was amazing. I just went, huh? And he said it was completely different what he got out of it. So you'll get out of it whatever you need in life anyway. But the thing is that the idea is that the partner can learn about setting that anchor. So that if you do get into the birth suite and you're all these, these medical people, blah, 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 you're not going to be highly suggestible. You're going to go, hold up. Can I have 5 minutes to talk to my partner about this and make my choices? That's the most important thing. And you can listen to your gut then. You can take the time to close your eyes, take a deep breath. What is my body telling me? And put yourself into that little trance that, So it's slow it up, listen to your body. But like I said, it's innate in all of us. Once we click into it, is that it? You just go, I just had a woman recently who was having, the last few weeks, she was anxious. Her previous birth wasn't that great. And she did a hypnobirthing, she did her refresher, and she came back and she said, my God, she said, all I needed was that. I didn't get it before, you know? So, and I hear this often. It's just that little bit that's missing. And I think being a midwife, being a woman who's birthed 13 times, I think that I've just got that little bit more to offer. And it works, you know, it works. I see women, I've been into rooms where women are screaming for epidurals, and it's a change of shift. And I've come in and they've ordered the epidural. And by the time the guy comes, I'm just going, and anaesthetist comes and I say, we're right now, thank you. And she'll go on to have that baby naturally. So it can be the staff. And we all know there's fantastic doctors, there's fantastic obstetricians, there's fantastic midwives. But, you know, we've also got some that aren't there for the passion, and they're there for other reasons, or they're stuck in a job they don't like, or they're the way they've been trained. You know, they don't know. I had a midwife recently who'd been 2 years working in the birth suite. She'd never seen a natural birth until I came in and I was there assisting a birth. That was the first natural birth she had seen in a regional hospital.
So every single birth had some form of intervention.
Mm.
Wow.
And they tried to intervene on this particular birth. And I looked at the mother, and the mother looked at the doctor and said, please leave the room. And she had a beautiful birth, absolutely superb. There was nothing going wrong in that birth suite, but this was what is happening. You know, it depends on the obstetrician. Whoever's leading the team, it's passed down.
Mm. So are you able to give some examples of what some of those interventions have been that maybe weren't, like, because you've been able to shift it, like the example, that woman who's about to be intervened,
Mm-hmm.
like what could you see, or what were they seeing that?
Okay, so the first intervention at the moment that I would say is an epidemic is inductions. So induction is going to change the course of your birth.
Mm.
Even a stretch and sweep is an intervention. I understand why women agree to it, and I understand the pressure that women have to have their baby at this particular time, you know, whatever time. However, in the hospital systems now, they want the babies born between Monday and Friday, 9 till 5. The staffing levels for surgery, but most of the Caesars that are happening, without a doubt, are caused by that induction.
Mm.
You know, women go on to, oh, well, I had an emergency Caesar. Okay, let's step back. Yes, I was induced. The baby was not ready. And then they'll insist on you having an epidural, which then often women sit there with their epidural on board. They don't move. Baby gets stuck. Baby's heartbeat goes up. Or the syntocin drips that they put up, you need to turn up. This is the protocols. Every 15 minutes, every half an hour, depending on protocols in the hospitals, you need to turn it up. Well, hold up. The woman's having 3 contractions in 10 minutes is what you need to have a baby. 3, but they continue to turn it up. They want them really, really strong until the baby can't cope. And then we have a decel, the baby's heartbeat drops, emergency Caesar. Well, okay, whatever reason the induction had to happen, did it? We need the synto, do we? And do we continue to turn it up? Mum is contracting and she's having this syntocin. Why do we need to turn it up? Let's just take the labour slowly and let the woman do it in her own time. And if we can turn that off, great. If we have to just leave it on low, but there's so many alternatives, but the women aren't given any choice at all. You know, I was in a room and the doctor walked in and looked at me and said, why isn't that being turned up? Turn that up now. We want to get this baby out. And I looked at him and I said, that's fine. You come and look after this woman because I will not. You know, so I got my way, beautiful birth. And this was someone that had come in and already been induced before I'd got to work. And I just looked and I went, no, I refuse. Sorry. We're causing those C-sections. So in the birth suite, this particular woman that we were talking about was pushing, and they had decided that she was pushing too long. They want directed pushing. They want them to hold their breath, push down. And in some instances, yes, I have done that myself. When we think the baby, you know, there needs to be a reason to push. This girl was breathing her baby out. They had a time limit set. That time limit was there. The trace was beautiful. The heartbeat was beautiful. Everything was perfect. and he decided that she needed a hand and he wanted to do a vacuum. So I turned to when she ordered him out, I looked at her and I said, maybe it is time to have your baby. And she looked at me, she said, okay. She had 2 pushes and she had her baby. So, you know, they just want to change what nature, the way that women do it, you know. He didn't trust her. I trusted her body. She trusted her body. So, yeah, there's just so many. I could go on forever. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. That brings tears to my eyes. It really does, because it's so special to know that, you know, there's women like you who really just believe in the women's natural ability to, and the baby's natural ability to birth.
Yeah, I just see it. Like, I just see my women don't need a Caesar. My women don't need pain relief. You know, I know I can walk in and make a difference. And look, sometimes, you know, you see something going on in another birth suite and you want so desperately to go in there and help. And sometimes you've got another midwife in there that you know is open to it. And I'll just whisper in her ear and say, do you want to take a cup of break and give me 5 minutes with her? You know? And more recently, the hospital I was working at, one of the obstetricians was requesting me.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember working at a Brisbane, major Brisbane hospital, and I remember one of the registrars there, she would come and say, no, Michelle needs to take this girl.
Yeah.
Because, you know, because she understood where the woman was at.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do have some great obstetricians and some great registrars and midwives. But I just think, you know, I want to teach more midwives. Some midwives where I was working asked me to come in and would I teach everybody how I do what I do.
Yeah, I was just thinking that you need to.
Yeah, and that would, you know, that would be amazing. But, you know, we're fighting hospital systems. Like, it's just not that easy. But this course, once again, that I put together, you know, like I've sold it to quite a lot of hypnotherapists. So it's something that I think momentum, and, you know, I would go into any hospital tomorrow, free of charge. Anybody listening, any midwives out there, I am available. I will come in and spend the time in there, just because if you want to make a difference, I'll help.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Michelle. I'm just wondering if there's any other. I'd love some more success stories. Like, you know, if there's been, particularly with this program, have you caught up with, I know it's a pretty new program, but have you spoken to anyone that did the program and did their birth without you physically in the birthing suite with them?
Yeah, I did. I got a photo the other morning. So I'd actually worked with, during this program, I'm also available to the women.
Sure.
So if you're, you know, there's a Facebook group, but there's also, you can have time with me. So this particular woman was a bit anxious, and I think she was in a group, it was a home birthing group, and, you know, she was getting a little bit lost, I think, in the information. So I reached out to her and said, look, just call me. It's okay. You know, so we did a few talks, and the night before they were going to induce her. So she'd called me, she'd messaged me, and we talked, and I said, you know, I believe in you, and I know that you can do this. And I know that you have all that information in your unconscious mind. It is all there. And it's your choice. If you feel that you need to be induced, your body will tell you, and you just need to listen. Anyway, that's the gist of it. And she went in, she refused the induction. So she didn't go in, she refused the induction and said that she would come in the morning. She had her baby, I think it was 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And she sent me, I got the first photo with her arms in the air, a baby in her arms, and I did it. She had no intervention. There was nothing. She just did it on her own. She did have the baby in hospital. She talked about a home birth, but it didn't all come together for her. I think the midwife couldn't be there or something, so she ended up. But she was 2.5 hours, I think. So yeah, it was beautiful. But look, there's so, you know, I remember a girl that was birthing. Now the bub's head was sort of to the side a little bit, so it's asynclitic. So, the baby's head was at an angle, first baby, which means it can be a little bit slower. Well, of course, the medical profession will get involved and say, look, that baby's stuck, it's not coming. We just need to give you a Caesar, or, you can try for a few hours with an epidural. Anyway, this woman had me. And she went 12 hours with what I would consider, that last stage of birthing. So 2-minute contractions. It was about 6 hours into it, and she looked up at me. She was in a trance. She was fine. She looked up at me and she said, I don't think I can do this. And I looked at her and I said, but you're doing it and you're doing well. And she said, I knew you'd say that. And she closed her eyes and she dropped back into trance. She did that for 12 hours. And then she had her baby. And the baby was, she had no pain relief. The baby was beautiful. She wasn't screaming, yelling. She wasn't going, I can't. She just closed her eyes. She went into her trance and she just focused on her breathing. She lifted her head occasionally and had a drink of water. She got into the shower. Her partner was there and she came out and she just did it. She just went into that trance and she trusted her body. And, that there was just that once where she said, I don't think I can do this.
Is that transition?
No, that was only 6 hours into it. That was about halfway, because it was all because, the baby's head, it was coming nice and slow. There was no extra pain. I'd have to go back and ask her if she actually felt pain, because she didn't show it. It was her first baby. She just did her breathing and focused on her breathing, but she was having like 2-minute, 3-minute contractions. So it was it was hard work, but she just did a beautiful job.
That's really amazing. And the stories I hear from a lot of women who have what is almost becoming unconventional, in that it's fast, it's silent. They're told, oh, you're not in labor yet, or no, I'll come back in a few hours. Oh, this is your first. No, you'll be right. And, they pretty much almost have it in the lift on the way there, because no, the baby was coming, even though it's the first, so it's really interesting that you're obviously a natural in this realm, that you can go, I still know that you are properly in labor.
I always listen to the woman. It's not about, I've had midwives say, oh, but they're only this. I remember I was working at the Mater at the time, and this woman come into me and I looked at her and I just knew. And they said they have to go to a room before they come into birth suite, do all they come in, and she said, oh, look, she's going to be ages yet. She's, she hasn't dilated at all. We had a baby in her arms in less than 45 minutes. And she just looked at me and I said, how do you feel? She said, oh, I just feel amazing. And I just feel amazing. And I went, yeah, your eyes are glowing. You just look beautiful. I said, I think you might be having a baby. And she just had a baby. And it was so funny, I didn't even get a chance to press the buzzer. So I had no second midwife in with me. And the midwife came back to check on us, and there was a baby in her arms. So, yeah, beautiful. I've been in the car on 1, 2, 3, 4 occasions, probably in the last 2 years, in the back of a car with a baby coming in the back of the car, and the husband's going, what do I do? And I said, whatever you want to do. Do you want to pull over? We can she's just going to have the baby. Like, it's okay. There's no, pull over if you want to pull over. Do you want to come and catch the baby? Oh, no, they keep driving. And I can guarantee the men are always the ones. I think, it'd be really nice to put the anchor on their shoulder and say, okay. So, some beautiful stories, all beautiful stories, they're always beautiful stories. So, but women just listen, if they have someone in that room that trusts them, if their partner believes in them and trusts them, you're halfway there. Because so many times I have seen where the partner is the one with the doubt, and the partner is actually the one that causes all that intervention. No? You sure you need pain? You sure you don't need pain relief? I think you need, are you sure you don't need pain relief? Are you okay? Are you okay? Hold up. if you keep asking her, she's going to say, well, obviously I'm meant to have it because you
no suggestions.
Whereas, that anchor of it's okay.
Yeah.
That's it. It's okay. So it just makes the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, amazing. So what about if you do have someone who has had some birth trauma before, or has had something that really has broken that trust with their body? How do you work with that?
Trust their body. Why did it happen? Let's break it down. So what happened? And usually if there's trauma, there's intervention. So one particular girl, this was a natural birth that she'd had before. It was, I wouldn't say it was a traumatic birth, but she did tear, and because the baby's hand was here, so she did have a bit of a tear, but they wanted her to have a Caesar for the next birth. They said, no, you'll tear again. And the tear wasn't great. And she came to me and I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I want to have a natural birth. I said, then you'll do it. Just make sure that, during your birthing, that you don't do that pushing, the directed pushing, and you're listening to your body and you're just breathing your baby out gently. And she did. She had no stitches. She had nothing the next time.
Amazing, yeah.
I was lucky enough to be at that birth as well. So it was beautiful. So traumatic births, when you break it down, generally that particular one, like I said, it wasn't traumatic, but she did have those sutures. So when you break down somebody's traumatic birth, there's usually, I would say most of the time, intervention. There's been, induction. There's been epidurals, which end up with your forceps and your episiotomies. And, I just shake my head because there's consequences. So you need to think about birth. You need to understand that with interventions comes consequences.
Yeah.
And the excuses that they're giving us for intervention really need to be challenged. And there is so many amazing books. Sarah Wickham, Dr. Rachel Reed, she's our own Dr. Rachel Reed from the coast. Amazing books on induction, what you need to ask, what is the evidence? What does the evidence say? They're telling us that we're putting ourselves at great risk for having a baby if you're over 40 weeks and you're over 40. But in fact, the risk is much higher for the induction. By the time you go through the induction, what's going to happen, all the problems that the induction is going to cause to having your baby over 40 weeks. So the evidence is there and you need to question it. The same as having a breech birth. The evidence is there. I was my last birth, they actually called a Caesar and I refused it. I said, well, I'm not having a Caesar. So we need to find another way. So I had a complication with a fibroid in my cervix so the head came down and the cervix, they were thinking that it would move out of the way, but of course it didn't. It blocked it. And I said, well, I'm not having a C-section. And so I said, the obstetrician came in, I talked to her, she'd worked in Papua New Guinea, and I said to her, okay, if this is in the way, let's push it out of the way. And she looked at me and I said, if you put your hand in, push it out of the way, I will push past your hand. And she looked at me, she said, are you sure? She knew I was a midwife, we talked about it. And I said, yes. And it's funny because for 2 weeks before that, I knew I was obstructing. And I had actually said to the midwife, there's something not right and my body is obstructing. I kept going to labour and coming out. So anyway, the obstetrician said, okay, Michelle, I guarantee you I had 15 midwives in the room. Everybody wanted to come and watch. And I pushed my baby out, which I did have, a bit of directed pushing. I did, but I knew that I needed to. It was that, I'm not saying that everybody has to go out there and breathe their baby out.
I couldn't.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that we need to be listening to our bodies. And if somebody's directing us to do something, is that right for us? You know? And I always talk to my women and, you know, talk about hands-on, hands-off, and what do they want? You know, sitting up on a bed. Everybody says you shouldn't be sitting on a bed, you shouldn't be sitting up, you shouldn't be. Well, I birth all my children sitting up, whether it's on the floor, wherever it is, with my knees up, and I birth my own babies. And that is what's right for me. So when somebody tells me, that's the worst place, well, hold up. My body tells me this is where I need to be and this is what I need to do. So I'm always in a conversation with the women. Okay, listen to your body. How do you feel about that? So
it's so true, isn't it? Like it was interesting you said before about the doctor coming in and going, okay, now it's time to intervene, suck the baby out. So with my daughter, I'd been pushing for an hour and a half. I was flat on my back, exhausted, because the way I sort of describe it to people is, you know, when you see a dog and they're trying to nest, like they're trying to find a spot to lie down or sleep or whatever, and they're like, they try a spot and they're like, I'm not quite right, and then they go try another spot, not quite right. That was me in the birthing suite, and I wasted a lot of energy doing that. And I was like trying to breathe the baby out. And I had this midwife going, think you might need to do a little bit more than just breathing your baby out. And so by the time it came to, I was exhausted. I was flat on my back. I had a midwife on this arm and the obstetrician, sort of leg, and the midwife, the obstetrician on that leg. And it was an hour and a half in, and she goes, the obstetrician goes, this is kind of the point where we would normally say we need to help you. But I reckon you can probably just, you know, if you give it a really good go, you can do it. So in that last 15 minutes,
that's right.
Right, that was all the motivation I needed to just go, right, I can do this, and pushed her out. But with Richie, he was a water birth, and I had Robbie sitting on the little seat thing behind me, and I was squatting in front of him. And we were both so sore the next day, as if we've been doing like bench pressing, because it was like bearing down, and like it was 45 minutes of pushing. Like, there's no breathing out a baby for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's what's right for you. And so I don't have any right in telling you to breathe it out. But, you know, I just find so often they're told to do all these things. And they're also told, you know, with some hypnobirthing, and this is why I like Catherine Graves' course so much better, is that they're telling you that you're going to have no pain. You are going. So women come in, they've done all the hypnobirthing, and they come in, they go, I'm not doing it right. And so automatically a fail. And so then they lose their stuff because they're going, well, I can't do it. I've got pain and I'm not supposed to have pain. It's not about not feeling the pain. It's about redirecting it. It's about changing your focus. So women say, I've been in labour for 5 days. No, they haven't. I'm sorry, girls, it doesn't happen. You're focusing on your baby getting into the right spot. You're focusing on your baby niggling and moving and creating these little compressions sort of to move them into the right spot. But because you're focusing on them, you're turning them up. And so they seem a lot stronger than they are. If you simply change your focus or turn them down, go inside, look for that knob, that dial, turn them down, you know, change it, change the color. It's like getting a headache. Well, you can sit there and focus on the headache, or you can go outside and do some gardening and just wait for it to go away. That's what birthing's about. The more you focus on whatever it is, that part, you can turns it up in your mind. So, you know, that when people say they've been in labour for 5 days, when we break it down, and I've heard this story over and over and over again, they go, oh my God, you're right. That's all I was doing. I stopped my life for 5 days to go, is this the next one? Is it going to be, you know, instead of going, let's watch a funny movie and release some oxytocin, or let's, you know, let's shake it up a bit. So,
I love your perspective, Michelle. It's so empowering and positive, and honouring our all parts of the experience.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And having a partner, my partner, it was the most important part of my births. And I can honestly say at any time of birthing, the only thing that I knew was that he was with me. I don't, even when all my kids were in the room, all I knew was his touch. And that was the most important. I didn't need anybody else. He knew exactly what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I needed. I just didn't need anybody else there. I loved having my kids there. One of my births, I had a 2-year-old on my tummy crawling over me, with the other one tickling them. I was so focused on the kids, doing stuff, that my body did what my body was doing, So I'm always encouraging siblings to come in. It's not my birth. Why should I be the one to catch it? I always pass it and say to the husband, to the mother, to the 2-year-old sibling, come on, do you want to birth this baby? Whereas I see midwives just take over. It's their birth. I've been in births where family members, and the thought that midwife was going to let me catch that baby was out of the realm, because it was her birth. There was no way, and I don't understand this ownership. Women come to hospital because of whatever has brought them there. They can't afford home births, whatever the reason is, but it's still their birth. How do we have the right to take that away from them? Makes me angry. I want to put a sign up. It's not our birth. Let's give it back to the woman.
Yeah. I think that's a really good positive note to finish on. So how can people get hold of you, Michelle, or your course, or, even if they are pregnant right now and they need support?
So I think I'm on everything. I'm on YouTube. So you can YouTube me, The Midwife Hypnotist. On Facebook, michellebrain.com on the website. On Facebook, God, I've lost, I don't know, I think I'm The Midwife Hypnotist, if you Google The Midwife Hypnotist. And I've also got the course out there, and it's birthingintrance.com. Okay. But you'll see it on my website and that as well. But, even if you're not sure, just reach out. I spend a lot of time just speaking to women, because sometimes that's all they need. Sometimes they just need someone to believe in them, someone to say or to listen to where they're coming from, or what happened last time. As a midwife, I can help them break it down. And their memories aren't always, your memory changes every time you remember something. You never see it the same. So, hypnosis sessions as well. Obviously, I work with, everything, stop smoking, confidence, weight loss, everything as well. But birthing is definitely my passion, and you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just jumping in to see if anyone has put any comments or anything with the actual live. No, that's not it. Look at me being tech savvy.
You're doing live. I've done a few live interviews in the US. They've been fun, but I haven't done one myself. So,
gosh, sorry, this is supposed to be quick. There we are. We'll say hello to Joanne, my virtual assistant. She's been watching. So otherwise, no comments or questions, but you're welcome to, if you're watching the replay or even live, you're welcome to put some questions in the comments, and Michelle's in the group. She can answer any questions that you have, or help you out in whatever way she can. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your time this morning, and your wisdom and your enthusiasm and everything that you've done in the natural birthing, midwifery, hypnotherapy space over the last 20 plus years. We are all very impressed about birthing 13 children.
Well, you're doing a great job too. I follow you, and we've worked together, so I know you're doing amazing things too, and I thank you, and it's just so lovely to be associated with you.
Thank you. All right, we'll leave it for now. Thank you, Michelle.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.